In the previous lesson, we learned how to use the Analytics pane to add reference lines to charts. In this lesson, we'll analyze the relationship between two numeric fields using scatter and bubble plots. In our data set, we may want to know how the relationship between revenue and number of users varies between salespeople. Are some salespeople bringing in considerably more revenue per user than others? A scatter plot makes it easy to find out. We'll start by creating an empty scatter plot. We can see that the available wells are slightly different than what we've used so far. To construct the plot, we'll start by selecting variables for the x and y axes. We'll put revenue on the x-axis and users on the y-axis. This produces a single dot. To see a dot for each salesperson, we'll drag salesperson to the details well. At this point, we'll create a page-level filter of salesperson and exclude Barkis and Stefani. We can now see the remaining salespeople much more clearly. The linear pattern to these dots suggests that revenue and users are fairly strongly correlated, and there are no salespeople getting a particularly high or low price per user. Let's take a moment to format this chart and make it a bit easier to read. We'll select the Format icon and start by ensuring that Fill Point is turned on. This makes the points solid so that they're easy to see. We'll also turn on category labels so we can see which salesperson is represented by each bubble. On a graph with more data points, this can create a lot of clutter, but we have few enough data points here that it looks reasonable. We'll now turn on color by category so that each salesperson gets their own color. What we currently have here is a scatter plot. In a scatter plot, each dot is the same size. If we select the fields icon again, we can see the size well. The size well is specific to the scatter chart type and allows each dot to be a different size. Activating this well changes the scatter plot into a bubble plot. Let's drag company name to the size well. Each bubble is sized according to the number of companies its salesperson is sold to. The size variable is not particularly useful here, as all the bubbles are of a similar size. We can reasonably conclude that each salesperson has sold to a similar number of companies. However, with the right data, a bubble plot like this can provide an appealing way to view the relationship between up to 3 variables. If we look at the other available wells in the visualization pane, we can see one labeled Play Axis. Let's drag our date field to this well. A play button now appears at the bottom left of the chart. When we click play, we can see an animated plot for each date in our data set. We can even click on an individual bubble to track its progress over time. It doesn't always make sense to include a play axis. In this case, it's not ideal as our data is collected on a daily basis, and not every salesperson makes a sale every day. As a result, bubbles constantly appear and disappear. However, in the right circumstances, this can be an interesting way of tracking a variable over time. This marks the end of our first course on visualizations in Power BI. In this course, we learned how to use some of the most common visualization types in Power BI and saw how to format these visualizations effectively. In the next course, we'll look at the remaining visual types, including maps, waterfall charts, and cards. We'll also look at more options for modifying visuals and the data used to create them, including methods of aggregation, quick measures, and drilling down into visualizations. For now, you should have a good grasp of the most common visuals featured in Power BI and how to use them in your reports.